To whom much is given, much is required. Luke 12:48. But what if what's given isn't wealth, fame, or power, but something far more complex, something that can't be flaunted or measured, something that often isolates rather than elevates? What if it's wisdom? Not just ordinary wisdom, but a profound soul, piercing level of knowing that doesn't just open your eyes, but forces them open, whether you're ready or not. What if the real inheritance isn't something you can touch, but something you carry? A divine knowing that haunts you in silence and awakens you in the middle of the night with truths you didn't ask for. It's the kind of wisdom that doesn't make life easier, it makes it heavier. It doesn't earn you applause, it earns you suspicion, distance, and envy. It doesn't get you invited to the table, it flips the table entirely. Here's an unsettling truth. The human brain processes about 11 million pieces of information every second, yet our conscious mind can only handle about 50 of those. That means most people walk through life only skimming the surface of reality, grasping fragments while believing they've seen the full picture. Now, imagine being among the rare few who can perceive what others overlook. Imagine being able to connect dots before they even appear, sensing shifts in energy, emotion, and intention as if the world were a living code you were born to decipher. You see through people, not just their masks, but their motives. It's like their souls are made of glass, and no matter how hard they try to hide, you just know. That's the burden of the chosen ones. You don't just think. You feel on frequencies others don't even know exist. You carry the wisdom of a King Solomon, and the weight of it too. And it terrifies people, because your presence alone disrupts illusions. You don't have to say a word. Your energy speaks, and it speaks loudly. It unsettles egos, reveals shadows, and unearths truths others would rather keep buried. It's not just intelligence. It's not even intuition. It's as though life itself whispered its deepest secrets into your ear. Secrets no one else was supposed to hear. Truths that burn away naivety and force clarity where comfort used to live. And so, people look at you, confused, defensive, sometimes even angry. How do you know this? Why are you always 10 steps ahead? Why does your very presence make others uneasy? Because you weren't meant to play along. You were meant to wake people up. But this isn't some conspiracy. This isn't ego. This is truth in its rawest, most undeniable form. And by the time we're done, you'll understand why your mind works the way it does, why people react the way they do, and why, whether you chose it or not, you were never meant to blend in. You were never designed to be comfortable. 1. The burden of knowing, the curse of premature wisdom. The chosen ones don't gain wisdom by accident. It's not something handed to them in the quiet comfort of a classroom, or delivered through a mentor's careful instruction. No, this kind of knowing is forged in fire. It's raw, relentless, and often unwanted. Their intelligence isn't the result of textbooks, prestigious degrees, or intellectual privilege. It comes from life itself, life that didn't give them the luxury of innocence or the privilege of ignorance. While most people get to learn slowly, stumbling through stages of growth, the chosen ones are catapulted into awareness. They are thrown into the storm early, forced to understand adult truths, while still in a child's body, tasked with carrying emotional and spiritual weight long before their shoulders were ready. While others walk, they are made to run. While others guess, they just know. This means their wisdom isn't soft or gentle. It doesn't arrive like a sunrise, it crashes like a lightning strike. For the chosen ones, awakening is often a violent rupture, a shattering of illusions that leaves no part of their old self intact. They don't gradually learn life's lessons. They're thrust into them, often with no guidance, no roadmap, and no way to unsee what they've seen. And when they emerge from that fire, scarred but sharper, people don't understand. They look at them with suspicion. How do you know this? Why do you seem so much older than your age? Why do you carry so much weight in your eyes? Because wisdom gained through suffering is not something that can be explained. It's felt. It's embodied. It seeps into their voice, their silence, their gaze. But this knowing comes with a price. Because they see so deeply, they struggle to engage in surface-level conversations. Small talk becomes painful. Pretending becomes unbearable. They often sit quietly in rooms full of noise, feeling more alien than human. The rules others follow blindly seem absurd to them. The games people play, social facades, manipulations, empty routines, appear pointless, even cruel. They are not antisocial. They are disenchanted. They are not arrogant. They are aware. Their wisdom isolates them, not because they want to be alone, but because the gap between their perception and the average person's reality is too wide to bridge without distortion. It's like speaking in color to people who only see in grayscale. What most people fail to realize is that this wisdom was not a gift freely given. It was the result of countless unseen battles, emotional wars fought in silence, betrayals that cut deep, childhoods marked by loss or neglect, and nights spent wrestling with truths that no one else would validate. The chosen ones are not just intelligent, they are seasoned. They are not just insightful, they are weathered. They are not just ahead, they are set apart by an invisible curriculum that most will never enroll in. They didn't read their way to wisdom, they bled their way to it. They are survivors of a reality most will never comprehend, and their wisdom, both their weapon and their wound, is what separates them from the world they were born into too. The memory of the ancients you're remembering, not learning for most people. Knowledge is a process, a slow accumulation of facts, trial and error, instruction and correction. They learn through repetition, through mistakes, through time. But for the chosen ones, wisdom doesn't unfold like that. It doesn't arrive step by step. It rushes in like a flood. It feels less like they're learning something new, and more like they're remembering something ancient, something their soul has always known. It's as if their consciousness is plugged into a divine archive, a spiritual library hidden in plain sight. While others search for answers in the material world, the chosen ones feel truth rise from within. They don't need to read it, hear it, or be taught it. It just emerges, as if whispered by the echoes of past lives, or embedded in their very DNA. And this is what confuses people. They see how the chosen ones anticipate outcomes with eerie precision, how they navigate human behavior with an understanding that seems too advanced for their age, too intuitive to be taught. They don't just notice surface cues, they read the energy beneath them. They don't just understand ideas, they decode the emotional and spiritual intentions behind them. It's not intelligence in the academic sense, it's spiritual memory. Their minds operate like antennae, tuned to frequencies that most can't detect. They receive transmissions from beyond the veil, insight that feels like DH view, dreams that carry messages, inner knowings that defy logic. They walk through life with the feeling that they've been here before, that this isn't their first time navigating this human maze. And so, they recognize things. People feel familiar. Patterns are obvious. Pain, love, betrayal. They don't hit the same. It's as if their soul has processed them in lifetimes past, and now, they're simply witnessing a rerun. But this familiarity comes with isolation. While others are wide-eyed, lost in the chaos, the chosen ones see the underlying design. They see how history loops in cycles. They see how humanity repeats the same mistakes in different costumes. They see how spiritual laws govern everything, even if the world pretends they don't exist. And because of this, they often feel misplaced in time, out of sync, alien. People ask, how do you know that? And the truth is, they don't always know how they know. They just do. It's like their soul has a key to ancient wisdom, and sometimes that key turns on its own. But few understand this. Fewer still accept it. So the chosen ones learn to carry this memory quietly. They become observers, archivists of the unseen, keepers of wisdom that doesn't belong to this era alone. They don't need external proof because they embody the truth. They've seen it across lifetimes. They've lived it in dreams. They've felt it etched into their bones. And that's why they stand out. Why they always will. Because they aren't here to learn like everyone else. They're here to remember and to remind. 3. unnatural pattern recognition. Seeing what others ignore, the chosen ones don't just observe life, they decode it. They see reality in layers, like peeling back the surface of the world to expose the circuitry underneath, while others only recognize patterns when they become painfully obvious. When the damage is done, or the opportunity is missed, the chosen ones notice the faintest shift. A glance, a hesitation, a crack in the voice, a silence that lasts just one beat too long. To most, it's nothing. To the chosen, it's everything. They are hyper-aware, not in an anxious way, but in a deeply attuned, almost otherworldly way. They perceive what's not being said. They see the energy behind the action, the emotion behind the logic, the intention behind the words. It's like they've been given spiritual night vision, able to navigate what's hidden in the dark, while everyone else stumbles in the light. They sense when something is off, even when everything on the surface seems picture perfect. A polished smile doesn't fool them. Neither does a well-timed compliment. They can read the shadow behind the charm, the fear behind the anger, the insecurity behind the ego. What others mistake for gut feelings, they experience as full downloads of knowing, instincts that strike with clarity and conviction. This is why their intelligence often feels supernatural, because while most require proof, data, confirmation, evidence, the chosen ones simply know. Not because they're guessing, but because they're tapping into the subtle architecture of reality. They see how one small habit reveals a deeper mindset, how a slight shift in tone is the start of a breaking point, how life, like history, doesn't just repeat, it rhymes in patterns only the awakened can hear. But this gift doesn't come without its weight, because when you can see so clearly, it becomes nearly impossible to ignore what others miss. It's exhausting to be the one who always notices, the tension no one talks about, the breakdown before it begins, the betrayal before it surfaces. The chosen ones are often burdened by their insight, carrying the weight of knowing in a world addicted to denial. They can't unsee, they can't pretend, they can't just let it go. They know when someone is lying, even if the lie is dressed up in sincerity. They know when danger is near, long before it arrives. They detect manipulation before it's even fully formed. Their pattern recognition isn't just psychological, it's energetic, and that can be deeply isolating. This ability makes them both revered and feared. People come to them for advice, guidance, and clarity. But that same clarity can be unnerving, because deep down, people know the chosen one sees through them. Not in judgment, but in truth. And truth, especially the kind that's been buried, is rarely welcomed with open arms, so they walk a lonely path. Admired from afar, feared up close. Trusted deeply by a few, avoided completely by many. Because the chosen ones don't just know, they reveal, and that revelation is often more than most are ready to receive. They weren't given this gift to impress. They were given it to illuminate, to uncover, to wake the sleeping and warn the willing. They weren't trained for this. They were born into it. Their awareness didn't come through study. It came through suffering, through silence, through the strange and sacred experience of being different from the start. They don't just understand the world. They see through it. Because the chosen ones weren't just blessed. They were assigned, marked, set apart not just to see but to show. Not to follow the pattern, but to break it. 4. Emotional X-ray vision. Feeling what others can't admit. The chosen ones don't just read situations. They feel them. They possess what can only be described as emotional X-ray vision. While others take words at face value, the chosen ones sense what lies beneath. They can walk into a room and instantly feel the unspoken tension, the repressed anger, the sadness hiding behind a smile. It's not empathy in the usual sense. It's energetic empathy, the kind that pierces through layers of denial, even when people aren't aware of their own truth. They don't need someone to explain their pain. They feel it before it's voiced. They pick up on grief that's masked as strength. They recognize love that's withheld out of fear. And they know when someone is pretending to be okay just to keep the peace. This emotional sensitivity is both a gift and a torment. It allows them to connect deeply, but it also means they carry the weight of emotions that don't belong to them. Often, they're accused of being too sensitive or too intense. But what people don't understand is that the chosen ones aren't reacting to what's being said. They're responding to what's being felt. They're not just listening to words, they're reading vibrations. And those vibrations tell the truth long before the mouth does. This is why surface-level conversations exhaust them. Small talk feels like static to their system. They crave depth, honesty, vulnerability, because their souls don't know how to stay on the surface. They live in the deep end of emotion, where everything is raw, real, and spiritually alive. But this emotional X-ray vision can also leave them feeling isolated. They often know too much about people who barely know themselves. They see betrayals coming before the first lie is told. They feel breakups before the last kiss is shared. And in many cases, they end up grieving relationships while still in them, because their emotional radar detected the end long before it arrived. This is the emotional burden of being chosen. They don't just understand feelings, they absorb them. They transmute them. They walk through life as mirrors, reflecting back truths people aren't ready to face, and that makes them dangerous to the superficial and sacred to the sincere. People often say they feel seen around the chosen ones, and it's true, they are seen. But being seen at that depth can be uncomfortable, even frightening, because the chosen ones aren't looking at your appearance or your status. They're seeing your soul. They're feeling what you're too afraid to admit, and holding space for a healing you didn't even know you needed. They didn't choose this power. It chose them, and while it may cost them comfort, it grants them a deeper kind of clarity, one that allows them to heal, transform, and guide others through the shadows they've already survived. 5. Isolation by design. The sacred separation the chosen ones often walk alone. Not because they want to, but because they must. Isolation isn't a punishment, it's a preparation. Before a chosen one can lead, guide, or heal others, they are pulled away from the noise of the world so they can hear the whisper of the divine. They are separated so they can be sharpened, not silenced. This solitude can be brutal. Friends drift away. Family becomes distant. Opportunities vanish. The world grows quiet and the silence becomes deafening. But within that silence, something sacred happens. They begin to remember who they are. Without distractions, they are forced to confront their wounds, face their fears, and awaken their true power. In that quiet space, clarity emerges. The illusions fall away. They begin to see life, people, and themselves with unfiltered truth. And as they transform, their energy changes. Their frequency rises. They no longer resonate with the superficial, the fake, or the familiar. They've outgrown the versions of themselves that were designed to survive, and are now stepping into the selves that are destined to thrive. This isolation is the cocoon before the metamorphosis. It's not permanent, it's purposeful, because when the chosen one finally returns, they don't come back as who they were. They come back as who they were always meant to be. Final words: if this message stirred something inside you, if you see yourself in these words, it's because your journey is not an accident. You were called, set apart, and yes, chosen. Your wisdom, your pain, your vision, it all means something. So don't dim your light just to make others comfortable. Shine boldly, walk proudly, and remember, you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. If this resonated, do us a favor, like, share, and subscribe so we can keep growing this soul tribe together. And if you'd like to go even deeper, consider joining the membership or supporting on Buy Me a Coffee to help keep this message alive. Until next time, stay awakened, stay chosen.